And if you know me, you know that I have a special dedication to ensuring every undergraduate who considers in a major in the humanities knows from the start that they'll be able to make a good career out of anything they study. Anything. And I have too often in my life seen students talk themselves out of studying what they love because they think that other degrees will give them an easy ticket to some secure future. It seldom works out that way, to be honest. I work a lot with business students who wish they had majored in the humanities. People who only years down the line are now coming back to get a graduate degree in the thing that they love and wishing that they had built up a little more, honestly wishing that somebody had told them that it's going to be okay. If they studied history, philosophy, religious studies, English, literature, film, and all of those things lead to great careers. As you're going to hear more of today, we have a great video that was recently released that has actually one of the stars of it is on our panel today. We work really hard with our career classes. Ruby Maksud, who's sitting there in the back, is phenomenal with ensuring that humanities students who want internship opportunities get them. And she told me this amazing statistic that 92% of those who go through the internship program graduate to a job. We can't match that in the business school, honestly. So I feel very confident in being able to tell students they should study what they love, they'll develop the skill set they need, and they will lead a more satisfying life. So having said all that, we're going to start at the very beginning with just a couple of minutes on some of the resources that ASU offers to all students in the college. And that means all students across disciplines, and whether you're online or immersion on campus. It is my pleasure to introduce Asha Stone-Shepherd, who's the Assistant Director of Career Readiness in our Future Center. So she'll tell you a little bit about that, and then we'll go right to our alumni.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. As Jeffrey said, my name is Asha Stone-Shepherd, and I am our Assistant Director for Career Readiness. And I just want to let you know that we're here for you. We have lots of really amazing, incredible resources. Like Dean Cohen said, we want to make sure that you feel really comfortable with all the skills that you're gaining while you're here at the institution, and how to talk about those opportunities and talk about those experiences, so that when you are ready for that internship, when you are ready for that job, you feel really confident and prepared to go on to that next journey and that next step. We are located here in Armstrong Hall. Myself, a career advisor, as well as a coordinator, to really help you with your resume and your cover letter, career exploration, looking at the different internship opportunities, looking at the different jobs that you have available to you. For those of you who are in person, there's lots of amazing little stickers that I put in the back for you to grab that also has our website. Our website, career.asu.edu, is an incredible place that you can go look for different templates, look for different modules, look for opportunities to really just explore the opportunities that are available to you here at the institution. And those of you who are joining us virtually, again, career.asu.edu, an incredible place for you to go to really explore, but also find ways to connect with myself and our staff. So thank you so much. I really hope you enjoyed the panel. Thank you, panelists and alumni, to coming back and giving all your incredible insights. And we hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Okay, so my introduction is going to be brief because we'll be talking a lot about career experience. I just want to go very quickly, and really I'm just going to identify people by their major, what they did. Samantha Winter McAlpin graduated summa cum laude, Phi Beta Kappa from ASU in 2008, earning 3 concurrent Bachelor of Arts degrees in English, Literature, Spanish, and History. I feel like mic drop. But terrific, and went on to career in law. Aubrey Feyrer, graduate student now, pursuing a master's in history, focused on public history, as well as a collections assistant at the Tempe History Museum. You should go and see the exhibit they curated. Phenomenal. Kaylee McMains graduated fall 2020 with a bachelor's in English in the Writing, Rhetorics, and Literacies program. And Max Conacher, BA Film and Media Studies. Max graduated in fall 2020 from ASU with a bachelor's in Film and Media Studies. Actually, we get to welcome Max back. He was also an employee of the college for quite some time, our first videographer. Max gave me a curse that stays with me to this day, where when he was doing video things with me, he would always say, "Oh, you don't need a script, just try it." Try to do it in one take. And he actually made it so that I could do anything in one take. And now I'm just terrified whenever somebody does the video and I'm like, I have to do this in one take. And I put all the pressure on myself, but it's because of Max. He actually made me a better dean. So I appreciate him being here today. All right, so we're gonna go through, ask a few questions, very informal, and then we'll have time for the audience. Can we each start with, very briefly, and we'll go straight down, starting with Samantha. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, other than the bare facts that I just narrated, about your background and about your current role?
I'm an Arizona native. I am a second generation Sun Devil. Well, but she was a business student. So we'll talk about that. I went to ASU straight out of high school and then went straight on to law school at the University of Notre Dame. And then I also have a master's in taxation law from the University of San Diego. I was joking with my co-panelists up here. I don't really like math, but I somehow ended up doing tax law. So if anybody has any questions about what sort of unconventional careers a background in the humanities can prepare you for, I took one math course in college, and it was college algebra at, do they still have 7:40 classes, 7:40 a.m.? It was a 7:40 on a Friday, and I dragged myself to it, but that was the last math class I took until I got my tax degree. I live here in town in Phoenix. I have 2 young sons, and I work for the Internal Revenue Service. I am a litigator, so I do courtroom work for effectively when somebody either disputes a tax bill or thinks that a tax bill shouldn't have been paid at all, or didn't pay at all, perhaps. I take those cases to court, and I also advise the Internal Revenue Service internally on basically interesting questions of tax law. Before that, I worked in private practice. I was a partner at a law firm called Gus Rosenfeld for a number of years before my current position. Is that all you wanted?
That was great. That was perfect.
Hello, everyone. I am a double Sun Devil, Arizona native, born in Phoenix. So right now I am a graduate student, as Jeffrey mentioned, doing my master's in history with focus on public history. I will attain that in the spring of next year in May. I went to ASU, started in 2018 as a history major, also with a minor in philosophy. And I was also a student in the Barrett Honors College. And I just went through the curriculum, graduated in fall of 2021. And after a little bit of a period where I was just working at the ASU bookstore, I also begun an internship at the Tempe History Museum at the start of 2022. And after the first handful of months of the year, I was promoted into my current role as a collections assistant. My main duties include helping out our curator of collections with documenting various items, artifacts, and photographs that we incorporate into our museum collection. I put them onto our database and then put them away as needed in our archives or other storage areas. I've also started to help out with exhibit design, with the most recent one culminating last month with our Tempe signs exhibit, which is on old signage of the city. I would highly recommend checking it out. It's really cool. I live in Ahwatukee, which is about 20 minutes away. And yep, thank you.
Aubrey. Max?
Hi, I'm Max. I'm a Houston native, so I came to ASU in 2017. Shortly after starting, I found the job at the college, which at the time we were stationed in the Fulton Center. And that was kind of my first glimpse into like video outside of just creative as a passion. Like I did a lot of YouTube things like on the side. I never really did any client work up until working for ASU. I kind of dove into more artistic ventures and obviously promoting the college from a video and photo perspective. But I've been here for, I guess, 6 years now. I took an internship my sophomore year summer with a film company in New York. So I took a break kind of from ASU times over the summer, spent about 2 months in New York City, and we traveled around to different summer camps, created promo videos for them, basically trying to recruit new campers for the next sessions. Came back to ASU, graduated in fall of 2020 during the COVID pandemic. I like to joke with people that I created my own graduation ceremony. Since everything was virtual at the time, I had a hand in creating that whole virtual ceremony that I had my name listed on the screen. And I saw that maybe a million times before the actual live presentation. So that was kind of cool to see all my friends posting on their stories. I'm graduating. I could say I had a hand in my graduation, which cool, like, sure. But shortly after that, I came on to ASU full-time for about a year and a half before I transitioned over to HomeSmart, which is a real estate brokerage in North Scottsdale. And there I work on a marketing team of about 20 people. And my main goal is recruiting agents and providing agents with the tools and training that they need to be successful in their careers. So all the social media videos, we do a big conference every year in Vegas called Growth Summit, where all our agents come out, they learn from keynote speakers, they have breakout sessions. So my main focus half the year is just promoting that. So creating a lot of teaser clips. I create all the content that's shown in the conferences, so on the big screens, on the stages, different breakout sessions, stuff like that. But it's been really fun working with Allison and the team here. I've learned a ton just working at ASU. I had no idea I'd go into the more marketing side of video. I always kind of saw myself more, not film industry, but more like commercial agency based. I think my time at ASU really shaped to who I am today and what kind of path I want to continue to go down.
It's good to have you back.
Great to be here.
Kaylee, I realize now I have bookended our table with the study of law, but it was really nice to see you reunited with Dr. Long, who I know you studied with while you were here. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yeah, so I'm also a Phoenix native. I'm a double Sun Devil. I went to Barrett as well. Yeah, and during my time at ASU, first time around, I was in the writing, rhetorics, and literacies program as part of the Department of English, and I had the pleasure to work with Dr. Long on a series of projects. It kind of snowballed into each other. One of which was my thesis. Got to study some local methods, and that was an awesome experience. And we also had the pleasure of going down to the Association of Writing and Rhetoric Studies Convention in 2019 in Austin, Texas, and that was awesome. We got to put together, got to meet some of the scholars that I was reading about and some of their studies. And yeah, so I had a great experience as an undergrad. I actually graduated in 2.5 years. I fit a lot in those 2.5 years, very busy. And then I went straight into law school. I got married fall 2020, went into law school, lots of life changes all at once. And since then, I actually went in wanting to be a criminal prosecutor, and now I want to stay out of the courtroom and be an estate planner, so more transactional. I'm finishing up my law degree and then the bar in February, and I have a firm that I'm hoping to join in March.
So Kaylee, since we ended with you, let me ask you the first question. How do you feel that majoring in English set you up for the success that you've enjoyed afterwards?
I think my co-panelists will probably have, well, I don't know. Oh, you did. You studied 3 things. That's right. Lots of information. I think that specifically with the writing, rhetorics, and literacies degree program, it really first of all, one of the biggest takeaways was just learning how to effectively communicate and effectively listen to, other people communicate and, understand them and, and understand the power that each word can have. And I think that that was super big, like later on reading statutes and rules. They are so intentional. The drafters of those statutes and rules are very intentional with every word. And so, studying exactly how each word works and how it, communicates a message was super beneficial to me later on. And then also, legal writing is very different than, creative and in other kinds of writing, but learning how to find your voice and being really comfortable with your voice, that carries over really well because each attorney writes differently and has a different voice and want to effectively communicate everything that you do right and really showcase your arguments. And I think that diving into the study of language and writing and rhetoric really helped set me up for success in terms of finding my voice and being comfortable sharing my voice, and then also just being really comfortable gleaning meaning from each word. And yeah, I think that's probably the main.
Great, that's well said. Max, you started to get at this when you gave a little bit about your background, but how did your time at ASU prepare you for what came afterwards? And related to that, are you a little surprised at what came afterwards as well, considering what you're doing at ASU?
Yeah, definitely. I think working at ASU taught me a lot of things, and one of the big things was communicating with a team. So we had graphic designers, writers, people I worked with on a day-to-day basis, no matter what the project was. If it included video or not, we're kind of brainstorming sessions, deciding, hey, does it make sense if we shoot a video for this or do a couple photos work? So I think the main thing I got out of working at ASU is the teamwork. Like, teamwork really is vital to any success, no matter if it's within a team or just friends. Like, anything that you're trying to accomplish, you always need to bring on bright minds and creative people if you're trying to achieve a common goal. And that really taught me a lot, especially here. Like, everyone at the college is so knowledgeable and creative and great people to work with. And I think just working with them every day taught me a lot about collaboration. And like, I didn't expect to go into this kind of route with marketing and more like pitching ideas to people or recruiting for students and now agents. So I think just all the ideas that have been shared with me during my time here has definitely shaped who I am now and the role that I fit now. It's been very beneficial.
I mean, it strikes me that very few people probably as a child declare something like, I want to work in an archive, or I want to do public history. Can you tell us a little about how you came to realize the career that you aspired to?
Right on. So, well, I mean, when I was little, naturally, the little athlete that I was, I wanted to, become a professional baseball player, then a professional soccer player. But always in the back of my mind, history and social studies always resonated with me throughout my K through 12 experiences. I felt I always felt just more interested, more in what I was studying in those kind of classes. And as I reached ASU and declared history as my major, I actually didn't immediately realize that archives and public history is where I wanted to be. It did take me a little bit of time because I was still certainly well aware of the fact that history could lead me to many different routes, and I was just trying to feel out my options, think about maybe could I consider law, could I consider teaching if it was just the necessary path for me to take. But at the end of the day, my love for museums carried through all of those years, because when I was a kid, I also loved going to museums a lot, particularly natural history museums. And as I got closer to finishing my undergrad, I realized that that was the path I wanted to take, because I became more and more aware that it was something that I could certainly go into. And And after doing more research into just what it would take to go into a museum and archival environment, I figured that I was more than cut out for it. And after scheduling a meeting with one of my former professors, actually, and also a current professor of mine, Dr. Tebow, just asking him, hey, are there any kind of possible volunteer opportunities for museums or any kind of historical institution for me to get into? He sent me towards the Tempe History Museum, and then after getting in the door, it's reinforced my belief that I'm where I want to be.
Nice. And I hope everyone recognizes that an emerging narrative here is that everyone is helped along by the community here, whether it's a faculty member who sees something special in someone and gives the extra attention, staff here, leaders here. I mean, this is what we do at ASU. And for those in the room, for those watching online, I just want to say, too many people talk themselves out of having a deep relationship with faculty, staff, and community members here. We're here to help you and guide you, and you can see already in this narrative how it's been paying off. Smith, I actually want to ask you two questions because there are two things that I think you really represent for our students who are thinking about their futures. One is, and we've seen this already a little bit, but the relationship between humanities studies and the law, because that is an outcome that has been followed with great success by humanities majors. And you've actually combined 3 humanities degrees, all of which could lead there. But second, and maybe related to it, so you also have set yourself up to be a leader in your field. You are in a position of seniority that you have earned over time, and of leadership. One of my hypotheses that I think has been proven again and again is that those trained in humanities make great leaders. And that's something that we don't talk about enough. So if you wouldn't mind talking about both those things.
Sure. I think generally a liberal arts education is supposed to teach you how to think. And I think that in particular the humanities really lends itself towards that. I really enjoyed all of my degree programs because I felt like I was studying something that I was passionate about, but I also felt like I was studying something that had a myriad of applications in my day-to-day life and then whatever I wanted to do when I graduated, which I frankly didn't know when I started. I think that in terms of leadership, one of the most important things that the humanities can teach you is how to learn from others. Specifically with a history degree, you learn from great leaders, you learn from mistakes that others might have made. You learn, frankly, that sometimes I think that history is a flat circle and you're just repeating similar things from the past. And I think that's also true in my English literature degree. I mean, I can't tell you how surprised I've been. Kaylee, I really agree with you that legal writing is very different than creative writing, but a good writer is a good writer. And learning how to write has been one of the most applicable skills that I have used in almost every aspect of my life, even if it's just advocating for myself when I'm, dealing with the administration of my son's school. Being able to be a clear writer is very important for that. And I have a degree in Spanish, and that has been so useful for me living in Arizona. Frankly, as an attorney, I used to do, I'm now conflicted out because I work for the federal government, but previously I used to represent children who have been brought here without legal status on a pro bono status, and using my Spanish degree in that way, even though I really hadn't touched the language in about 10 years, was incredible. And my language program is the reason that I studied abroad with Dr. Orlich, who's sitting over there in the corner. I got to go to Romania for a summer with her, and that was just life-changing, frankly. The ability to get to see something different than my day-to-day lifestyle, to use a language that I was studying. I studied Romanian as a related language to my Spanish degree, was really, really, really useful, and a different way of viewing the world. Dr. Orlich, I actually don't know if you know this, but one of the other students who was on that program with me had never left the United States before, and he's now married to, I believe, a Romanian woman, and living abroad constantly. And I can tell you right now that that never would have happened if we hadn't had that sort of opportunity. So the humanities just broadens your outlook. And I feel really grateful that as an 18 through 22-year-old, I had the opportunity to see a bunch of things that my professional program didn't necessarily allow me the time or the opportunity to do.
I love that. Thank you. And again, it comes down to having a mentor, having someone who connects, someone who cares for you. We have two great faculty members who have changed uncountable lives at this moment. So all hail them. Okay, so some briefer answers just to help people to frame how best to engage in humanities studies. What would you do differently if you were beginning your education over again? Samantha, we'll start with you.
Sure. What you said about being nervous about creating deep relationships with faculty, I think I would have started doing that earlier. I feel really lucky that I have a deep relationship with Dr. Orlich. I graduated in 2008. She came to see me today and nominated me. It was very wonderful, and wrote my law school recommendation letter as well. But beyond that, I wish I'd started doing something like that earlier. I think it's really easy as a freshman in particular to think that your professors are unapproachable, particularly since you might be taking some very large survey courses and you're one of a larger group versus when you get farther into your studies, you may be in smaller programs. But every time I reached out, I found that the professor was willing to meet with me, talk with me, and I wish I had an interview for that.
I love that. And again, I just want to emphasize for students talking themselves out of faculty engagement, faculty always have this thing called office hours that nobody shows up to, and then they feel deeply unloved. Show your faculty some love. They want to connect with you, I guarantee it.
I would say if I started over, it's a little tough because I'm really happy with how things have gone. But I would honestly, if I did have the caveat of having a bit of clairvoyance and know that I was going to go into museums as I started out, I would certainly make a big point to make sure that I got some kind of museum studies certificate. Because I probably would have still been a history major. I think that was a good decision just to ensure that, just in case that doesn't work out, at least the history degree is a bit more broad in outreach. But I would make a point to get a museum studies concentration. That's probably the only regret that I have in my educational journey, is that I haven't ever really done a proper engagement with museum studies. Most of what I've learned, almost all of what I've learned about museums has been on the job at the Tempe History Museum. ASU academically has taught me a number of excellent skills, though, like the importance of writing, research, incorporating critical thinking, and ensuring that you're aware of the fact that there are a lot of different interpretations of history, and hence why historiography is so important. But definitely, if I could start over, I'd want to make more of an effort to be involved in museum studies.
We also appreciate that you helped to distinguish between learning content and learning skills. And it's really the skills that advance you. The content you can catch up on, right? Anyone with a curious mind who's a lifelong learner can catch up on that. But yeah, great answer. Max?
Keep talking about the importance of community, but coming to ASU from Houston, I didn't know anyone. Like, I started fresh, didn't have any friends when I moved here. And I think if I were to start over, I kind of stuck with like people I lived with, like my roommate and like my dorm floor. But I think I would have jumped more into the video side, more like creatives, like find a group of people that have similar passions to you, whether that's in your classes or groups, because I know ASU has tons of clubs and organizations you can join. And I think working at the college, ASU does something every summer with staff. They have a big like learning week where all the creatives across all the departments, because ASU is massive, and obviously every school has their own kind of team of marketers and other cross-functional teams. But everyone would get together and do like workshops. So I would meet videographers from other departments and learn, okay, this is working better for y'all. We haven't tried this yet. Why don't I implement this next semester when students come back to campus? And I think that's really important to jump into right away, is find a group of like-minded individuals with your similar passions, whether they're studying the same thing as you or not. I don't think that's as important. But whether that's through your classes, through joining clubs and organizations, I would have gotten into that much earlier than I did, versus like working here has definitely helped expedite my process of that. But as a newcoming, like out of state student, community was everything. I think I would jump on that.
That's a great point. And I love how it's community is really sustaining, right? It keeps you going. But then it turns out later in life, your network, they're the people that watch out for you, and you keep in touch with them. You help each other. So yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily change anything, but I do think if I maybe even starting over, I would have slowed down. Because I mean, I'm very thankful that ASU, I was able to, they supported me in graduating early and helping me get those degrees efficiently, or get those credits efficiently to earn my degree efficiently. But efficiency is not everything. I mean, I really enjoyed my studies here, and I look back fondly at that time, and I do think it's awesome to sometimes slow down and enjoy the moment and learn as much as you can while you have the opportunity to. It's awesome that I got to get an early start in the law school, and I'm actually graduating a semester early in law school too. So I maybe should have taken my advice. Do as I do, not or no, do as I say. There we go. But I do think that just maximizing the opportunity that you are in now, and in embracing the current moment and really diving in and taking every opportunity and filling the 4 years, maybe using all 4 of those years would have been helpful to me. I could have possibly added another degree program, or had more opportunities to continue my research with Dr. Long. I think that would have been really beneficial. So I encourage you to at least consider slowing down, even if you have the opportunity to accelerate your program.
It's a really good point. And I often tell students that nothing is wasted in your undergraduate career. So even if you take a course that you're not so sure about and it doesn't really count for your major for graduation, but you're kind of interested in it, you will not waste the time doing it. You will not waste the time pursuing study abroad or that kind of job. So thank you for that. Now, this question is for anyone who would like to answer it. Did anyone ever have an existential moment during their study? They're like, why am I doing this? What are the stakes? Like, I kind of like, is this even going to work out? And if so, what did you do to get through it? Anybody have that moment?
Although I'm further away from it, it's probably easier for me to process. I graduated without knowing where I was going to go to law school. I mean, I wanted to go to law school, but I was on a bunch of wait lists, and I was pretty nervous about it. I got an award at graduation, and I remember I had to tell the person who was like doing the announcement, well, just say law school. I don't know what I'm doing yet. And in retrospect, how silly. I was fine. I got off a wait list. I went to the University of Notre Dame. I met my husband as a result, which is a great fringe benefit, but it felt really like I had done all this work to get to a certain place, and things just weren't falling in line like they were supposed to. And all I needed to do was be a little bit more patient. And I think, kind of like you, Kaylee, maybe a little bit of patience in my undergraduate studies in general would have been good. But that was certainly I don't know, I guess maybe a quarter life crisis. I don't know how old I was then. I guess it depends on my longevity, but it was an existential moment for me.
Anyone else have such a moment? Crisis of confidence or?
Yeah, I can answer that. I think all of us can kind of relate to this, but COVID threw a wrench in everything. Yeah. And especially with it being my last year at ASU, I'm obviously looking for jobs outside. Like, I had no idea I would stick around to the college, and I'm grateful that I was able to. But like the whole job market was thrown in a loop, and I just wasn't sure quite if I wanted to keep doing what I was doing, if I wanted to go a different route, more like marketing, big ad agency. But no one seemed to be hiring at the time. And I think what helped me is to focus more on my long-term goals, like 10 years down the road. Where do I see myself versus short-term, like 1 year out? Like obviously that's where you're going to be short-term, but you really got to plan ahead and plan for where you see yourself being in 10 years versus living in the moment and freaking out because no one's hiring and job market's in disarray. So I think that's really planning.
Kaylee, you graduated during COVID as well.
Well, I will say I think my mini crisis moment happened as I was actually a major right before I started in 2018. I remember thinking I had kind of a brief moment where I doubted, do I do a humanities degree? I knew I wanted to go to law school. And in terms of being a prosecutor, that was where I saw myself. And I didn't know, like, should I do criminal justice? Should I study pre-law? Like, there's so many options. And I got the really awesome advice from at freshman orientation, actually. I landed on a creative writing major, but I was very doubtful. And I was going back and forth because I loved writing, but I really wanted to make sure I was setting myself up for success in law school and making sure I look good on paper for those, admissions office people. But I got the advice to just do what I'm passionate about and then excel where I am, and that'll do the most for, law school admission and just success in the future, rather than, not that the pre-law program, I can't speak to it, but I'm sure it's awesome here. But I think that you have time to study law, and you maybe just choose something else that you guys have already chosen. But stick with what you're passionate about, because you will thrive if you are like really diving in your studies and enjoying them. Then the rest is going to come naturally.
Awesome. It's okay to be supremely self-confident.
My supreme self-confidence and my moment of crisis, they do not need to be mutually exclusive. Supremely self-confident, but I do think that I had a mini crisis moment. I guess maybe two small ones. One was just in terms of literal employment, because over the summer before my final semester in fall of 2021, basically I was like, I need to get a job. Like I've been doing my studies for a while, but I'm gonna have a little bit more time, like less classes. Like I was finishing up my honors thesis, but I was just thinking I need to get back into the job market somehow. That was a little bit tough for me just because like a few job applications didn't like work out, and I was feeling a little down on myself. But thankfully, when I went to the ASU bookstore to pick up books, just like me and my dad who was with me, we just kind of asked around, and I managed to set up an interview, and I got hired there. And then that was one little mini self doubting moment. But the more critical one for this discussion was it was actually around 2 years to the day, because I remember it was in October of 2021, because I was just about to defend my honors thesis, and in the meantime I was thinking to myself, wait a second, I'm about to graduate and I don't have anything lined up for myself after I'm finished, and I just started at the bookstore, but I'm just like, well, I need to try to find some way to get into the field, otherwise how is that opportunity going to come about? So I started just scheduling meetings with people. I spoke with two archivists at Hayden. They gave me a lot of good advice. The first person I talked to gave me more professional advice. Second person gave me academic advice. I was also like thinking about like, okay, graduate school, how do I plan that out? Should I take a gap year? Do I need to look broadly for a PhD? And then finally, I was like scrambling through like, okay, who among my former professors could really help me out in this instance, and I realized Dr. Bo was the best person to go to, because I knew that he was very well involved with public history matters. The class I took with him was on urban history, so I figured he was the perfect guy to go to, because he would have a good sense of what's going on in the community. And everything then worked out. I went to him, had the meeting, and he got me into contact with the collections curator at the museum, who is now my mentor and my good friend, colleague, and I overcame that just by frantically scheduling meetings.
That's great. All right, last question, and this one is asking you to zoom out a little bit. Why do you think the study of the humanities is important today? You can answer that however you want. Why does the study of the humanities matter at this point?
I'll speak to the world of writing, rhetorics, and literacies. Specifically, I think that one of the things that Dr. Long and I found fascinating is my thesis study was about transforming barriers into pathways in terms of discourse, like having a discussion with somebody. And I think in today's climate, there is a lot of very hot and contentious issues, and people so vehemently disagree on both sides. And I think that it's so valuable to learn how to take a step back and listen and talk. And you don't have to, agree. You can have a good discussion and learn so much from each other. And I think that's like the best way to change minds into honestly just learn. And I think that degree program really helped with that for sure.
Anything else?
I don't think it's a coincidence that a lot of the courses that you're supposed to take as a freshman are humanities. And I think one of the benefits of that is that even if you know that you're going to be an engineering student, you have the opportunity to meet students outside your program of study. And I think that specifically the humanities, it's kind of in the name. You're learning what it is to be a human. And I think in some ways with some of our professional programs, and I say this as somebody who went to a professional graduate program, there's obviously a really important role for degree studies that teach you how to do something specific. But I think in some ways we put the cart before the horse. And one of the best things about a college education is that you're learning broader concepts, like what are the great books of the past, or what are the mistakes and lessons we can learn from our shared history as humans, or what are the big problems that we're facing together right now, and how can whatever small piece I end up doing in my adult professional life solve this bigger problem, as opposed to focusing on how can I make the most money, or how can I have the easiest entree into the career I think is right for myself. And I know as an 18-year-old, I wasn't prepared to say, I know that I definitely want to do this. I think I wanted to be a veterinarian. And that's a great profession, but I'm glad that I had the opportunity to have 4 years to sort of figure out, well, what does that really mean if I want to do that? And what does this course help teach me to do? And I think the humanities in particular help show you a different way of looking at the world. And I think that's incredible.
You don't have to have an answer here because that's a big.
I have something to add. Sure. Samantha kind of touched on this, the money aspect. I have a lot of friends that kind of jumped into jobs because the money's good. Like you go after a degree because your starting salary out of college is pretty high and you'll be comfortable there. But most are starting to realize like they're not passionate about the work they're doing. And I think that humanities is a great piece in your toolkit because you get, like you said, a broader knowledge of the world and what it's like to communicate with people. And I think your network, and I know I've touched on this community on sticking to it, but just being able to connect with people, I think is humans' best ability, being able to talk and actually share things with one another and build off each other's experiences is massive. And getting into different industries just because you know someone that's working in there, or there's some little piece that they talk about, you're like, I might be interested in that. And I think that humanities really broadens your knowledge to those different pieces and different industries that you wouldn't necessarily think of if you didn't take a class.
To add on, I think, of course, I'm coming from a history perspective, but I think definitely it's important to study humanities because I think it's very important to understand why certain things happen. Of course, from a history standpoint, I see it as just almost just like learning about ourselves as people, as communities, as countries, and as a world. I think that's important to recognize, particularly because history in of itself, generally, it can either be easily dismissed or misused. And then I think with history's place in the broader humanities context, I think it's important to study it because again, as Samantha said, it's about understanding what it means to be a human, what it means to be a person in this world, and I think there's a lot of value in understanding historical processes, legal processes, philosophical processes, because they're very integral to why things occur and why certain policies are implemented in society. And I think that is important to just understand where the world is going as we keep heading into the future.
In closing, among those who are watching and interested in today's panel are many who are thinking about majoring in the humanities. And some of them are young people about to begin their college journey. Others are people who find themselves in a major they are not finding satisfying or looking for alternatives. Could you, just as a kind of closing statement to address such people at a kind of vulnerable moment in their life, give a sentence or two of advice about thinking about choosing the humanities as one of their options? And anybody is welcome to start with.
I think there's no right or wrong path to choose. And I think failures often lead to success, whether that's choosing some different degree. I think going the humanities route, you really have no way to fail. There's so many different avenues that you can take. And even if one doesn't work out, there's always another one that you can go down. And don't be dissuaded from failures or roadblocks. There's ways to overcome that. And I think it's been made clear here that faculty and staff are all here to support you. And just keep pushing ahead. Like, failures are gonna happen, and yeah, it sucks in the moment, but that's what makes you stronger, and you learn from them and come out on the other side better for it. It's great.
I think what Max said was so well put, and I think like not everyone's path is linear, and I think some of the most beautiful moments in your education and your life are the moments where you kind of veer off the path a little bit. And I mean, I've always known I wanted to practice law, but I've gone back and forth, like prosecutor to estate planning. It's so different, and maybe I won't even end up practicing in estate planning my whole career. So I think just take comfort in knowing that you don't have to have a straight line to success. It can look however, even if it's meandering along the way, as long as you are excited about what you're learning. I think that's the number one thing, because you'll never get tired of learning, and you never will not see success if you're excited about what you're doing. So.
What I would say is, if you're thinking about studying the humanities, I would say no matter what naysayers will tell you, humanities majors are needed, and they will find success and belonging in just any kind of broad context you would use, because again, humanities, those kind of processes, they're happening every day. And so my museum experiences have taught me that what I'm doing is worthwhile, because it is important to a number of people. It's important to so many communities. And at the end of the day, humanities is a reflection of what's going on in the world. So even if someone will say that's not going to really do anything for you, it's not going to make you any money or whatever, all of that doesn't really matter, because you are going to make a difference.
I don't think knowledge is ever wasted. And I really think that I can do just about anything if I find it interesting. I joked at the beginning that I'm not very good at math, and somehow now I'm a tax attorney, which a lot of people think is probably the driest type of law that you can practice. It's pretty dry, and I find it really interesting. I think it's like a puzzle. And I felt like that about just about everything I've really taken an in-depth look at, and I think that's what the humanities teaches you to do, is to look at something and go beneath the surface. So if your heart is telling you that you should be studying the humanities, it's probably because that's the type of thinker that you are, and this is a great way to get training in that. And it's a great way to help you end up where you're supposed to be. And goodness knows, I'm not where I thought I was going to be. And I bet that's going to be true for all these students too.
I love that all of you have talked about that it's okay to be uncertain, right? And that having confidence that the path will come is really important for making a career and knowing that you have a future there. You just might not know exactly what it is. And I hope those who are watching, those in the room, will carry that with them. Our panelists will stay for a while. If anyone in the room has questions, want to interact with them. Those who are watching online, we're very thankful that you joined us today. And if you have questions about becoming a humanities major or any feedback you want to give, I'm Jeffrey Cohen. I'm the Dean of Humanities here. I'm so easy to find as far as my email goes, but please get in contact with me. But I hope we can all join in thanking our panelists today. This is absolutely terrific panel. So thank you.